All right, today we are talking about lesson 1.5, adding and subtracting real numbers. Okay, go ahead and put your name and let's get started. Okay, so the first one, we are doing a little warm up. This is just finding the sum or difference of each of these. So we've got 3 plus 11, that is 14. We've got 3 over 8 plus 5 over 8. When we are adding fractions, the first thing we need to do is make sure that these things on the bottom, which are called denominators, are the same. In fact, they are both 8. So what we can do is write it as 3 plus 5 over 8, which is 8 over 8, which brings us to 1, okay? So we got 14, we got 1, let's keep going. 9.7 minus 8.6, okay? So how we do this, we subtract them vertically. 9.7 minus 8.6. 7 minus 6 is 1. 9 minus 8 is also 1. So we are left with 1.1. Okay? And next one, 5 over 9 minus 5 over 10. The first thing we're looking for is to make sure that these denominators are the same. They are not. Now, what we have to do at this point is find a common denominator. So what I like to do is just multiply each of these by each other. So we're going to get 5 over 9, and you're going to multiply it by 10 over 10. The reason we multiply by 10 over 10 is because we don't want to change the value of the 5 over 9. So like we talked about the other day in class, we can use the identity property and multiply anything by 1, which 10 over 10 becomes 1. So we can multiply anything by 1 and we're going to get the same value, okay? And then we're going to subtract 5 over 10 times 9 over 9, which is also 1. So we're not changing our values at all, okay? 5 times 10 is 50. Over here, we're doing this one. And then 9 times 10 is 90. Then we're subtracting. 5 times 9 is 45. And 10 times 9 is 90. Now we have that common denominator. So in blue, I'm going to go ahead and do 50 minus 45 over 90, which is 5 over 90. Now we are not done. We have to simplify. So this 5, the 90 can be is divisible by 5. Now what is 90 divided by 5? It is 18 times 5. We can cancel these out and we're left with 1 over 18. Okay? So that is our answer for the last one. Okay, so we've done our warm-up. We're good with adding and subtracting. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first part of this lesson is we can use a number line whenever we want when we are adding and subtracting. Okay, so if you are ever confused or you want to double check your work, a number line is a great tool. Okay, so how we use the number line, let's say we're given 3 plus 5. This first value is our starting, and this is what we are doing. Okay, so we're going to start at 3, which they already have, and we move to the right 5. Why do we move to the right? Because it says plus. And it's 5 units because that's what we're doing, okay? So when you move 5 units, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We end up at 8. So 3 plus 5 is 8. All right, next one. Actually, let me move this. Oh, that didn't work. Yikes. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we have 3 plus negative 5. So our 3 is our start. So let's start at 3. And what we are doing is we are adding, so we're moving to the right, but we've got a negative. So we are moving to the right a negative amount, so we're actually moving to the left, okay? So we're moving to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we end up at negative 2. Okay, let's try another one. So we are starting at negative 3. So let's start at negative 3, and we are adding a positive value, so we're moving to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we end up at 2. Negative 3 plus 5 equals 2. And last one, we've got negative 3, which is our start. We've got a plus, but then also a minus. So let's start at negative 3, and we're adding a negative, so we actually go left. So we're moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We end up at negative 8. All right, next slide. So let's try one on our own. What is negative 8 plus 4? At this time, I would like you to pause the video and try it yourself, and then we're gonna go over it. So let's go over it. So our start is negative 8. That was a huge bubble. I actually don't want it to be that big. Okay, and what we're doing, we are moving to the right. How do we know? Because it's a plus sign and it's not a negative number. 4 spaces, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We end up at negative 4. So our answer is negative 8 plus 4 equals negative 4. There we go. Easy enough. Absolute value. The absolute value of a number is its distance from 0 on a number line. Absolute value is always non-negative since distance is always non-negative. Again, like I say always, you can't run a negative 100-meter dash, okay? You are running a 100-meter dash. Your distances should always be positive. So what absolute value is, it's the distance from 0. So let's take a look at 4 and negative 4. Both of these are 1, 2, 3, 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4 units from 0. Even though negative 4 is in the left direction, it doesn't matter. The absolute value of 4 equals 4, and the absolute value of negative 4 equals 4. Okay? The absolute value of 16 is 16, and the absolute value of negative 16 equals 16. So the absolute value of any number is its distance from 0. Or you can also think about it as making every single negative a positive, okay? Our key concept is adding numbers with the same sign. So to add two numbers with the same sign, add their absolute values. The sum has the same sign as the addends. So, for example, we have 3 plus 4 equals 7. Negative 3 plus negative 4 equals negative 7. So what we did here for this second one, negative 3, the absolute value is 3. Negative 4, the absolute value is 4. 3 plus 4 equals 7. And it has to be negative because of our negative. Okay? All right. Now, when they have different signs, this is where it gets complicated, okay? So when they have different signs, you are always going to subtract, but you're going to do it like this. So you're going to take the greater number, in this case, that has, or I should say the greater absolute value, okay? So of the absolute value of 4 is 4, and the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. So we're going to take 4, subtract 3, and we get 1. Now, whichever one was bigger, in this case 4 was bigger, that is going to be our sign. So our sign is going to be positive, so it's going to be plus 1. Okay? Let's try it this way. Oops. So we've got 3, which the absolute value of 3 is 3, and the absolute value of negative 4 is 4, right? Which one's bigger? This one is. So already we know that our answer has to be negative, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to take 4 minus 3, which is 1, and our answer is negative 1, just like they got here, okay? So keep in mind, when there are different signs, you are taking the absolute value of both. You are finding which one is bigger, and that is going to be your sign. Don't worry, we will do plenty. Okay, so just like I said, we are going to do plenty of these, so let's get started. So we've got negative 12 plus 7, okay? So negative 12, before we write equals, jumping ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and find the absolute value of negative 12, and let's go find the absolute value of 7. The absolute value of negative 12 is 12. The absolute value of 7 is 7. Which one's bigger? This bad boy is our biggest one. So we know, since the 12 is negative, our answer is going to be negative. So we can go ahead and put a negative sign over here. And we've got 12 minus 7. I kind of forgot how to subtract, is 5. Okay, so our answer is negative 5. Okay, let's try it again. Negative 18 plus negative 2. Now, these have the same sign. They are both negative, okay? So, in this case, we're going to take the absolute value negative 18, which is 18. The absolute value negative 2, which is 2. We add these together. 18 plus 2 is 20. Now, since they were both negative, we're not going to change the sign, so our answer has to be negative as well, negative 20. Okay? These next two I'm going to do in a different color. So we've got negative 4.8. The absolute value of this is just 4.8. The absolute value of 9.5 is 9.5. And this one is bigger, so we are going to stay positive, which means that our answer will be 9.5 minus 4.8. I'm going to borrow... This becomes 15, 7, 4.7. Positive, okay? And another one with different signs. So let's go ahead and get the absolute value of 3 over 4 and the absolute value negative 5 over 6. The absolute value of 3 over 4 is 3 over 4, or 0.75. And the absolute value negative 5 over 6 is 5 over 6. Or let's go ahead and use a calculator. 5 divided by 6 is 0.83, repeating. So which one's bigger? This one is. So in that case, our answer is going to be negative. Now, I did it by changing it into a decimal. Just to find out which one was bigger. Now, what I recommend that we do is we leave it as fractions. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 5 over 6 minus 3 over 4. And like I did in the last one, we do not have a common denominator, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to multiply them by each other, okay? So we're going to take, I'm going to move over so I have more space, 5 over 6, and we're going to multiply by 4 over 4 minus 3 over 4, and we're going to multiply by 6 over 6. So you multiply by the denominator of this one and the denominator of this one to the other one, okay? All right, so what we get here is 5 times 4 is 20 over 6 times 4 is 24 minus 3 times 6 is 18 over 4 times 6, which is also 24. So now we have 20 minus 18 over 24, which is 2 over 24. Are we done yet? Absolutely not. So first, we have 2 more things to do. First, we want to simplify this. So 24 is divisible by 4, so is 2. So we're going to divide by 2 to both the top and the bottom, and we get 1 over 12. Okay? Now this is our answer, but we have to keep in mind that, remember how this was the bigger value? That means that this sign is going to take precedent, which it was a negative. So our answer is going to be negative 1 over 12. Okay? Remember, you have to look for the greater absolute value when your answers are, or when what you're adding is different signs. Okay? All right, let's move on. And more fun. What is each sum? So we've got negative 16 plus negative 8. They are the same sign. So what we're going to do is we are just going to add their absolute values. The absolute value of negative 16 is 16. The absolute value of negative 8 is 8. You add 16 plus 8 is 24. And is it going to be positive or negative? It's going to be negative. Why? Because they were both negative to begin with. Okay, so next one, we're going to do negative 11 plus 9. The absolute value of negative 11 is 11. The absolute value of 9 is 9. We take 11 minus 9. Why are we subtracting? Because they are different signs. One is negative and one is positive, okay? So 11 minus 9 is 2. And since we do have a greater negative, we are going to make it negative 2. Okay, looks like I'm running out of space for C, so I'm going to bring C down here. Let's go ahead and do 9 plus negative 11. 9 plus negative 11. That is exactly what B was, only reversed, okay? So they use the commutative property of addition. Wow, look at us using properties that we learned in old lessons. We're awesome. So they use the commutative property of addition to rewrite this just the reversed way, okay? So we're going to do the same exact thing. The absolute value of 9 is 9. The absolute value of negative 11 is 11. 11's bigger, so we know our answer is going to be negative. So now 11 minus 9 is 2. Negative 2 is our answer. And let's go ahead and knock out D right now. So we've got a negative and a negative, same sign, so we know we're going to be adding at the end. Absolute value negative 6 equals 6. The absolute value negative 2 equals 2. 6 plus 2 equals 8. We added because they are the same sign. And now our answer is negative 8. Why? Because they were both negative to begin with. So you can't end up with a positive number if both of them are negative and you're adding them, okay? All right, well, I think that was enough practice with this adding. Okay, let's move on. So two numbers that are the same distance from 0 on a number line but lie in opposite directions are opposites. So negative 3 and 3, they have the same absolute value. The absolute value of 3 equals 3. The absolute value of negative 3 equals negative 3. And they lie on opposite sides of the number line, so they are opposites, okay? A number and its opposites are called additive inverses. Why are they called additive inverses? Because if you add them together, they make 0. So look down here. A plus negative A equals negative A plus A equals 0, okay? So 14 plus negative 14 equals 0, negative 14 plus 14 equals 0. You could do 1 plus negative 1 equals 0, negative 1 plus 1 equals 0. Dude, there are so many possibilities, okay? So just keep that in mind. Additive inverses. So what's the additive inverse of 5? Negative 5. What's the additive inverse of 12? Negative 12. What's the additive inverse of negative 47? Positive 47, okay? It goes on and on and on. You get it. Okay, subtracting real numbers. To subtract a real number, add its opposite. So this is why we covered opposites. So we have A minus B right here is equal to A plus negative B, okay? So what they did here was they said that instead of subtracting, let's add the opposite of B, which is negative B, okay? So here's an example. We have 3 minus 5, so that becomes 3 plus negative 5, which gives us negative 2. We have 3 minus negative 5, which we changed to, we're going to add the opposite of negative 5 is 5, so 3 plus 5 equals 8. All right, let's try some. So we've got negative 8 minus negative 13. Let's go ahead and change it to an addition problem. So negative 8 plus, the opposite of negative 13 is positive 13. So the absolute value of 13 equals 13. The absolute value of negative 8 equals 8. They are different signs. So we are subtracting them. 13 minus 8 equals 5. So this is going to be 5. Is it positive or negative? It is positive because 13 is bigger and 13 was positive. So 5 is positive. Okay? And the second one, let's pull that one down here. 3.5 minus is going to change to plus. Now what's the opposite of 12.4? It's negative 12.4. Okay? So now that we've done that, what we have to do is find the absolute value of 3.5, which is 3.5, and the absolute value of negative 12.4, which is 12.4. Which one's bigger? 12.4 is, so we know our answer is going to be negative. And then we do 12.4 minus 3.5. You have to borrow 14. 14 minus 5 is 9. And then 1 minus 3 we also have to borrow from here, so this becomes 11. And we get 11 minus 3, which is 8. 8.9. So negative 8.9 is our answer. Okay? All right, this one seems pretty obvious. 9 minus 9. Let's move that one over here. So 9 minus 9 turns into 9 plus the opposite of 9 is negative 9. 9 plus negative 9 equals 0. Okay? And our last one. We're almost there, guys. Okay. 4.8 minus a negative 8.7. So let's change this to 4.8 plus. The opposite of negative 8.7 is just positive 8.7. So now we've got a standard addition problem. We don't need to do anything. Okay, so this becomes 15, bring up the 1, and then 8 plus 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Bring the decimal down, and we've got 13.5. So our answer is 13.5. Wow. We're so good. Okay, moving on. A reef explorer dives 25 feet to photograph brain coral, and then rises 16 feet to travel over a ridge before diving 47 feet to survey the base of the reef. Then the diver rises 29 feet to see an underwater cavern. What is the location of the cavern in relation to sea level? So we've got ourselves a fancy-dancy, super long word problem that we're going to turn into an easy math problem. Okay, so 25 feet. If he's diving down, we should make negative 25. Why? Because when you dive, you move down, and down should be negative. Okay, and then he rises 16 feet. So we're going to go plus 16 before diving an additional 47 feet. So he's diving even further down. So minus 47. And then he rises back up 29. Okay, so what we're going to do is change this addition and subtraction problem into an addition problem. So we've got negative 25 plus 16 plus the opposite of negative 47. Or I'm sorry, the opposite of 47 is negative 47 plus 29. Now what I want us to do is combine the ones that have the same signs. So negative 25 plus negative 47 plus 16 plus 29. And if you were paying attention yesterday, you know that we just used the commutative property. Because we reordered, and because of reordering, we think of McDonald's, and McDonald's has an M, which there's 2 M's here. I know it's a lot, but you don't have to use that if you just know what the commutative property is. Okay, moving on. So negative 25 plus negative 47. 25 plus 47 equals. Okay, so now why are we adding them? Oh, that's right. We have to find the absolute value. My bad, jumped the gun. 25 and negative 47. Oops, wrong one. Is 47, and we add them together. Why? Because they have the same sign. Okay, so 25 plus 47, we get 12 over here. Carry over the 1, This is a 7, so we have 72. Is it positive or negative? It's negative. Why? Because we can have two negative numbers added together that make a positive. Duh. So now we're going to add. We have 16 plus 29. So we're going to get 15 here. And this becomes 45. So 45. So this is our new expression. Let's go ahead and take this, move it over here. So negative 72 plus 45. What do we have to do? Find the absolute values. Okay, now the absolute value is 72. This one is bigger, so we know our answer is going to be negative, okay? And since they are different signs, one's negative, one's positive, we are going to subtract them. So 72 minus 45. Let's go ahead and borrow from the 7. We make that a 6. This becomes a 12. 12 minus 5 is 7. 6 minus 4 is 2. Negative 27 is our answer. So he is 27 feet below sea level. See, not too bad, okay? All right, let's move on to our last slide, which is the homework. Okay, so we did a lot today. We did a lot of practice, but you can never get too much practice. So I'm assigning these problems for homework. Good luck. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.